everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, we've got, the times that we live in. We all know what's going on with like riots and
Insurrection,
terrorism in the U.S. Capitol.
Right.
And the LDS Church, the Mormons, officially have something to say about it.
They weighed in. Thank God. Because
where would we be?
what a powerful voice they are in the nation.
Oh,
So we'll be talking
so
about
wise.
those
So
Mormons and their really strong statement.
All right. Well, first though, Dan,
Yeah.
let's see. Where do I want to start? Let's start with this one.
You really should have known that before we began.
Oh, God, Dan. So, Jesus Christ. So, as we just were talking about, chaos at the Capitol, terrorism at the Capitol,
Yeah.
all in the name of trying to prevent Joe Biden from becoming the next president of the United States, as he was elected to do.
Right.
It's almost like nobody has learned their lessons yet about what's been going down. In fact, it seems like there are some pastors still in this country, evangelical type pastors, who are doubling down, Dan,
Oh, yes.
on who's going to be the next president, and it's Trump, right?
Right.
So this is Brandon Burden. He's the pastor at Kingdom Life in Frisco City, Texas.
Amazing last name. And I'm guessing he is a burden on the city, on the economy.
Yeah, no kidding. This last Sunday, he told his congregation that they have, in fact, an executive order to keep Trump in office. Dan?
Oh.
Then this executive order, it doesn't come, from him or from the president. It comes from God himself, Dan.
Yeah.
He says that he has heard prophetic voices that have told him God, or saying that God would told them Trump would be president for 8 years. That's ridiculous. It's the voices. He heard prophetic voices that said that they were told by God. I don't know how that works.
Listen, we're going to be hearing later on from another pastor who is talking about these same prophetic voices. And I understand what's going on. All of these dudes had literally put all of their eggs into this prophecy basket that Trump was going. They thought they had it locked down. They thought they knew for sure. And the reason was just because they were, going and looking at the polls, and the polls looked pretty similar to 4 years ago. And they thought, well, okay, this is going to go our way. We're pretty clear. They're going to the Trump rallies and seeing so many people, and they're watching the Biden rallies, which didn't even really exist. He'd talk to a parking lot full of cars because there's a whole fucking pandemic happening, and they go, "What? 25 people showed up there. Ha ha. He's gonna lose." And then a vote happened.
Yeah, indeed. He says we have an executive order, not from Congress or D.C., but from the desk of the CEO of heaven. The boss of the planet. The boss of the planet.
That's
of
the planet. That's amazing.
He said from his desk in heaven, "This is my will. Trump will be in for 8 years." He said it's the responsibility of his congregation and other Christians to execute God's order, and alluded to the Battle of Jericho. He says, take down the walls of Jericho. The Lord says your Jericho is Washington, D.C. That's your fortified city. Like, what is he telling these people to do? Well, let's get into a little bit more of this whole thing.
Well, Well, can we talk about the Battle of Jericho just for a second? Because
sure. Yeah, okay.
The story of the Battle of Jericho is that God said, hey, go genocide those fuckers.
Yeah.
And then they did.
Yeah.
There was no offense by Jericho. Jericho had not done anything wrong except that they were there where God promised the Israelites they could be.
Right.
So literally every reference to the Battle of Jericho, including the Jericho marches in Washington, D.C., those are references to a genocide story.
Yeah. Well, and Dan, it's clear that this is what's on Burden's mind. Toward the end of the service, he discussed the need to prepare for a national blackout or any emergency that could occur between Sunday and the inauguration. He told the congregation to stock up on food, water, and gas for generators and to keep their weapons loaded. We are locked and loaded at the Burden house, he says. The pastor then advised the people out in the pews that it's illegal to shoot a trespasser on their lawn, but they can if someone tries to enter their home.
Yeah.
So, like,
hey,
these are armed people with.
I'm pretty excited that he said, "Don't shoot people on your lawn." I'm pretty excited that he put that little PSA out into the world because, frankly, you tell people to, lock and load, and some of those motherfuckers are going to start shooting people from their window.
Well, I mean, he doesn't want them to get in trouble, Dan.
Right.
And so anyway, yeah, he did say that he believes that Yahweh will bring a miracle this week and that Trump will serve as president for another 4 years. I mean, it's absolutely clear what's on their mind. He may not be telling his congregants to directly. I mean, he kind of is saying that, the whole Jericho story, that they should probably go do something about it. But if you can't, you defend yourself, right?
Right.
Like it seems clear to me what he's talking about.
Well, first of all, he is one of these people who is 100% certain that there's a civil war coming.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am
never checking in with the fact that like the other side of the civil war is not going to show up. Like, we're not planning on a civil war. Yeah. You guys are planning on. I have a friend. This happened to a friend of mine who was minding his business in his house in Daybreak, which, if you know Salt Lake, the greater Salt Lake area, Daybreak is this planned community way out in the fucking boonies, and it's basically where Stepford wives live. It's nice, but it's also a little creepy. Anyway, his friend, this friend of mine, who is he goes to church. He's Mormon, ish. A guy knocks on his door. A guy in his ward. This is a fellow parishioner in his Mormon ward. Knocks on his door. He opens the door. This guy has an AR-15 strapped to his back.
Jesus.
And he says, "Hey, just so you know, I know that we don't agree on all politics, but it's okay. When the war starts, I got you." And he's like, what do you mean we don't agree on politics? And he's like, "Well, I see that, every summer you put up a rainbow flag and, you had a Biden flag during the election, but that's okay. I'll still protect you.
I'll be the bigger man here."
And it's like, thank you? Like, to me, that's the most... it's not like my friend closed the door and was like, "Oh, I feel safer
Thank God
now.
I'm protected."
No, it's like, call the cops. There are children in this neighborhood. Are you insane?
Yeah.
But that's the world. That's the world that we're living in right now.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to take us to Texas, where maybe we were just in Texas. Is that where you were? I think you said.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I got a story of another Texas pastor, and this guy's a big dude, meaning he's got a big congregation, and he built it from nothing. So, like, he has a lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
He started from nothing, built his congregation into a 16,000 person congregation.
Oh my God.
Mega church.
What?
And considering the fact that he was probably taking in plenty of tithing from those 16,000 people, he was not hurting for money. Which is what, and this is a guy, by the way, who was a spiritual advisor to George W. Bush, including presiding over Jenna Bush's wedding. Oh. I think he was actually one of Obama's spiritual advisors too. Anywho, why then, if he's making that kind of money, would he have swindled a fuck ton of investors out of $3.5 million in a just straight up scam?
Oh, really?
Which he did do. He's just been sentenced to 6 years in prison for having basically sold a bunch of investors worthless Chinese, quote unquote, Chinese bonds, historical Chinese bonds.
Oh, historical.
I don't even know what that could mean.
Wow.
But yeah, he personally received about $900,000 and then spread the rest of the money around. Oh. And then when the investors started to say, "Hey, how about that return on investment?" Which, by the way, if any of you are listening at home, if someone promises you returns on your investment that are 15 times what you put in, and not over the course of 80 years, run away from that person. That person is trying to swindle you.
I think promises of returns are probably not a
swindle.
Yeah, any return. like you can't promise. If you're betting
say,
on
this
market,
looks good.
Yeah.
This, and here are the reasons why I think this looks good. But but especially if someone's like, even just saying you'll double your money in 2 years, that is a swindle. Yeah. But if he's saying 15 times a return on your investment, how is anyone falling for that?
That should be a red flag.
Anyway, it turns out it was all a scam, and this guy's now going to go to jail.
Yeah. Selling fake bonds?
The best scam running. A tax-free, broad daylight scam that no one's going to bother you about at all. He was making a fortune off of exactly the kind of scam that I would run if I had no scruples, which is that of a pastor.
Yeah.
And yet he threw it all away for Chinese. I guess the guy needed a boat.
It all away. He was on top of the world, Dan.
He was. And he had everything. He had power. He had money. And then he was just like, you know what I need in my life? I need a little excitement. Let's do a scam.
He needed to feel
obviously
alive,
get me
Dan.
caught.
He was feeling a little dead. Like,
it's hard.
These are rough times, right? Like, we're just not getting all the stimulation that we all need.
And his, the moments of him going into department stores and, stealing small things just to feel the rush, that was not paying off anymore.
You're probably not very far from the truth there.
Probably not.
All right, Dan. More fallout from the U.S. Capitol violence, Dan. And the reason I'm bringing this one up is because the organization that's been affected, Give, Send, Go. We brought it up last week as they were raising money for one of the Proud Boys.
Yeah,
I'm not even going to say his name.
This is the same org that raised money, that was helping to raise money for a defense fund for Kyle Rittenhouse, the murderer who went and murdered people.
Yep, that's correct. And let's see. So they, there's been sort of a reckoning in corporate America, it seems, over the last week or so. largely trying to disassociate themselves from Republicans, and in particular Republicans who were trying to overturn the election and whatnot. Well, this is all part of that fallout, I would say. PayPal has said that it has blocked Give, Send, Go, and that people will not be able to use PayPal to donate to Give, Send, Go causes. It doesn't really shut down Give, Send, Go. I mean, it doesn't shut them down at all. You can still use like a credit card or whatnot. But PayPal wants nothing to do with it. And I think that's a powerful awesome statement. They've also, PayPal has closed an account held by Ali Alexander. He's one of the organizers of the Capitol Hill violence.
Okay.
And then there was also, they have closed an account held by Joy and Liberty. That was one of the groups that helped pay for supporters of Trump to travel to Washington, D.C., where then they formed into mobs and stormed the Capitol.
Oh, interesting. So you're telling me that the right wing, who has been claiming all this time that left-wing protesters are just paid shills who like, what's his name? What's the billionaire's name that they always pick on because he's Jewish and they're anti-Semites?
Soros?
Soros is just paying all of us to go to do all these protests. Mm-hmm. When the reason they think that is because they are actually getting paid to go to these things.
The amount that the far right projects on their values and the ways that they would
their
do
shittiness,
things, onto the left. I mean, it's not to say that the left is like perfect or anything, but the things that they accuse the left of, like you should just immediately go sniff around and see, because it's transparent. It's completely obvious at this point that they're just telling us what they're up to.
Yeah,
in their accusations of the left.
Yeah, exactly. When you hear them say it wasn't us, it was Antifa at the thing, that's when you know, when Black Lives Matter was erupting into violence, that wasn't actually Black Lives Matter starting that. That was them,
right?
Dressed in all black with a black umbrella, breaking the windows of buildings to make the Black Lives Matter people look bad. That was. I mean, we have video of that. We know that happened. Of course they attribute the same tactics to our side.
Right.
They think everybody is fucking unprincipled and bullshit.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm glad that... I hope... You know what? I hope more companies cut them off. I hope all of the credit card companies just say no.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've heard about like all the Fortune 500 companies essentially who are just like saying, we're not going to give. Some of them have said we're stopping all political donations, moratorium, right? Okay, fine. Okay. Some are specifically like being a little bit more clear that we're cutting off the Republicans, and then others are like, that 130 or whatever that voted against a democratically held election,
right?
Those are the ones that we're cutting off, and so
they better be.
There's a reckoning that's happening amongst America's largest corporations, and saying we need to be more careful about who we support and give money to.
Yeah,
but there's also this thing where they're all a little nervous because they feel like they're a little unmoored at the moment. They don't have a political party that's kowtowing to them at the moment.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're a little worried because they know they're not going to get much from the Dems, or not. They're not going to get everything they want from the Dems,
right?
And the Republicans are a little too focused on overthrowing an American election,
overthrowing their damn selves.
Indeed.
Okay. Well, I have a little bit of good news.
Oh, what's that?
This came to me from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, our friends at the FUFERF.
Yeah.
Who are reporting that H.R. 6100, the congressional, which is a bill that just got signed into law it was a key priority for the Congressional Free Thought Caucus. And the thing is, this is an anti-female genital mutilation bill.
Oh, wow.
They've just made it illegal to do FGM on children, on young girls, which is amazing. Hooray. Now, you might say to yourself, hang on, I thought they passed one of those, which they did. This is the second one, because a federal court in 2018 knocked down an existing statute they ruled it unconstitutional because they said Congress lacked the authority to enact it. So they fixed it. They enacted this new bill under a different statute or whatever. Okay. I don't know the verbiage. Statute. Maybe that's wrong. But under a different thing, they did it under the Commerce Clause, which gives Congress very broad powers indeed. I'm not sure
what are they saying? You can't be paid to perform it?
No, I don't know.
Like, how does that work?
Right? You can't sell the leave-ins. I don't know how that ends up being commerce, but somehow they found a way.
Well, good. I hope it works.
I hope it does too.
Oh God.
And I hope that eventually they do a similar thing for male genital mutilation, but we won't get into that.
That's going to be a long time. Dan.
Yeah, that's going to be a longer time. But at least
that's a long slog.
The young women
would do better
are safe.
just to change sort of public attitudes. About it.
This one should have been
where we need to be much sooner.
This one should have been an easy slam dunk, considering that the people that this will piss off are the Muslims, and I think even the Republicans are happy to piss off the Muslims.
Mainstream Muslims, right? Like, it's a radical fringe of Islam, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more of an African cultural thing than it is an Islamic thing. But
I think you're right about that. Yeah,
it's connected to Islam, so it's like
you're right. I remember that now.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah.
Speaking of Congress, we
have
are in the 117th Congress of the United States.
They're sitting there.
They, yeah. And as I believe we've brought up at least one time before in the course of the show, and maybe more than that, is the religious breakdown, the religious composition of the Congress, since it's a new Congress. And for those of you who might be a little confused about 107, that's the 117th Congress, and we know the country's a lot older than that. It's only they count the Congress by who's in it, by the terms, right? And so every 2 years you get a new Congress,
right?
And so, all right. So breakdown, Dan.
Okay.
Religious breakdown.
Break it down.
Now, it will come as no surprise to anybody, right, that Christianity is going to be a little overrepresented.
What? They wouldn't dare.
And that our little group is wildly unrepresented.
Yeah.
In fact, not represented in Congress.
Now, that is not true. We have one, don't we?
We have one unaffiliated.
Yeah. Boom, baby.
And we have one other.
Only one other?
And we have 18 who said that they don't know or just refused.
Or don't want to answer.
Like, somebody comes asking a member of Congress, what religion are you? And they're like, I don't know.
Right.
Don't know.
They definitely know, but they definitely don't want to answer.
Which is interesting about that one. Since we're talking about it, we might as well just say that means that 3.4% of Congress doesn't know their religious affiliation or refuse to answer the question. And the corresponding number in the U.S., the broader U.S. population, 2%.
Yeah.
Right. So that's interesting. We'll loop back around to that. Right. Let's see. Jewish members of Congress, 33 Jewish members of Congress.
33, is that what you said?
33, 3-3.
That seems wildly overrepresented.
Yeah, that means that the Jews make up 6.2% of Congress, while only making up 2% of the U.S. population.
Yeah.
Mormons, Dan.
They tend to be overrepresented usually.
This is interesting, Dan.
But yeah,
How many do you think are in Congress at the moment? It's way down.
Yeah. Because other than the Utah reps, I don't know. Is there
there clearly are a couple more, because we would have 4 plus the 2 senators, so we have 6, right? Just from the state of Utah, and then there are 3 more.
Okay, yeah, you got like an Arizona person, maybe an Idahoan.
Yeah, so that's clearly where they usually come from. So the Intermountain West is usually where you're going to see these people coming from. Dan, this is down from its historic high of 17.
Yeah.
Back in the 106th Congress. That was 1999 to and 2000.
Oh, the good old days.
Were the 2 years. And then it's kind of fluctuated a little bit, but then it's had this like drop off since really 2016. It's just been going down. The number of Catholics has consistently increased over time. Going back to 1961, there were 100 Catholics in Congress, and there are now 158. And over the same period of time, Protestants have gone down from 398 down to 294. Now, to know the total, it's 531 is the total for the members of Congress.
Jesus.
Because it's counting both houses. And I believe also non-voting members are probably in that tally. That would make sense to me. It's because that's a thing that exists. There are non-voting members. For people not familiar with the ludicrous intricacies of our representative system,
our as you're discovering, our non-representative system.
Yeah, it's really fucked up. So yeah, let's see.
Tell me how this relates to the general population. We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So Christians, right?
Yeah.
There are 468 of those 531 members of Congress who are Christian. That represents 88.1% of Congress. And Christians are only 65% of the country.
Yeah.
Right. Protestants are still way overrepresented at 55% in Congress, 43% in the general population. Baptists are a little underrepresented.
Well, that's nice.
Which is interesting. Sort of your non-denominationals are underrepresented, suggesting that maybe we just like to know who you are. Unspecified or other Christians or other... Oh, this is unspecified Protestants.
Okay. I'm just a Protestant.
That's a dumb line. Yeah. Make up 18% of Congress, while only 5% of U.S. adults. And then other groups that Muslims obviously are underrepresented. And then I wanted to come back around to the Mormons. You were saying, 9 seems like that's probably overrepresenting. That means that they make up 1.7% of Congress, and Mormons make up 2% of the United States population.
So,
right. Statistically, probably right. That's fine. Go. That's pretty close. And then Hindus are underrepresented, as you would assume. Unitarian Universalists are probably accurately represented. There are 3 of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Unitarian Universalists make up less than 1% of the U.S. population, which 3% would be, or 3 total members would be less than 1%.
Right.
So works.
And for those who aren't familiar with the Unitarian Universalists, those are atheists who don't like that word.
Exactly. So, I mean, in here, right? Inside this don't know or refuse to answer, and maybe inside that Unitarian Universalist number, there are, in my heart of hearts, I have to believe that amongst those 21 people, there has to be a few atheists, right?
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely, and to be honest, amongst all those Christians, there are probably a number of atheists.
Yeah,
right?
If you think Mitch McConnell believes in a god, you have not been paying attention.
Yeah. And so,
not that I want to associate us with him, but come on, that is a godless man.
It just it highlights, obviously something we've been talking a lot about on the show, which is the need to have atheists in office. And my attitude is, even if you can't run openly as an atheist, I'd still rather have you in office than somebody else. But we need visibility, right? We desperately need people who are able to kind of just skirt the issue if you're in an area, never lie about it if you're asked, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have to run as an atheist, or people who want to run for office.
You can decline to answer, as we've learned.
You could, but getting back to the whole idea of visibility,
we do need people open.
Need it. We desperately need
it's
it.
True. It's
but
true.
It's so hard. Still.
We're doing it,
but
you can do it. All right. I am going to talk a bit about Dave Ramsey, which I don't know how many of our listeners will be familiar with Mr. Ramsey.
He doesn't come up on this show.
Thank
God.
He should come up on this show because he's a tool, and he's an evangelical Christian personal finance guy. His whole empire is built not on preaching the good word, but on inserting the good word into lectures about how credit card debt is bad. So he's all about he's trying to be the guru of personal finance for Christians. I don't know why you need to be affiliated with Christianity, other than Christians are always susceptible to scams run by other Christians.
Yeah, he's more trustworthy,
right?
Them.
Exactly.
Right. Which is
and that's a real thing, by the way. Scams run by Christians sucker Christians in all the time. Hence, the Mormon affinity for multi-level marketing. But that's okay. That's a story for another day. Anyway, Ramsey runs his whole thing out of Nashville, Tennessee, and Religion News Service, RNS, had a very interesting piece this week about how Ramsey claims to be trying to build the best place to work in America. His intra leadership, his whole thing. He wants it to be the best place to work in America. Except he doesn't. He runs it like a little. It is. I'm going to avoid words like I was going to say some Nazi references. That's not true, but it's not great. He does things like, for instance, he has a whole thing about how when you hire somebody, you're also hiring their family. So he likes to do spouse interviews as well as interviewing the candidate for a job.
Isn't that illegal?
I don't know. He presents his whole thing is a ministry, right? So laws don't apply to anything that he does.
If it's officially a ministry, that's probably how he's getting away with something. I can't imagine that would be. That just seems absurd to me. I mean, what about people who don't have an awesome spouse?
Yeah. What if you're married to what if you are married to somebody who's kind of fucked up? So,
right.
Well, but he thinks that'll affect your job performance, so he doesn't want that shit. And he basically, and he's been a nightmare about COVID. So ever since COVID, he has been he's mocked it on his radio show. He he had a big convention scheduled for May, like a big live event thing in May, and refused to give back anybody's money who didn't want to go because they didn't want to catch a deadly disease.
Oh my God.
He literally said, "We have people calling in. They're wanting to cancel stuff for a live event in May. Let me tell you how much of your money I'm going to give back to you if you don't come for the coronavirus in May. 0. I am keeping your money. You are a wuss." Wow. Is what he said to the people who listen to his show.
I can tell you right now, he's a terrible boss.
Oh.
Like, you didn't even have to start the story. Like, it's clear. The man's an asshole, right?
Yeah.
Like, and probably not going to find a really good boss and a complete asshole.
No. And here, just to confirm that, just to give you a sense of, like, how shitty an organization this is, I'm going to read to you from the reply that they sent back to the Religion News Service when they sent a request for comment. Because, that's what journalists do. They say, hey, I'm writing a story about your organization. Here's what I'm writing. Do you have any comment about it? And, he had collected stories from former employees. He had, watched videos of internal meetings. He had gotten emails. So it's not like this was just hearsay. He had corroborated all these stories. Here is what the organization sent back. "Thanks for reaching out. We want to confirm for you that you are right. We are horrible, evil people. We exist simply to bring harm to our team, take advantage of our customers, and spread COVID. And you figured it all out. Wow. Who would have guessed that an unemployed guy, a freelance reporter, would be the one to show us how horrible we are so that we can change and let you and to let the world know of our evil intent, secrets, and complete disregard for decency. But you did it." Wow.
Responding
That's just one part of one paragraph. The thing just goes on and on and on.
Toxic
with that same
sarcasm. It's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Bitchy little teenager tone. That was from public.relations@ramseysolutions.com.
I mean, I wonder what their employee manual reads like.
Right? I mean...
Oh, you want a day off?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I pity the fool who goes into HR for anything. "Oh, your wife's having a baby. Oh, isn't that nice?"
We met her during the interview process, and she seems like a tough lady.
She's crazy.
You'll be fine. Get back to work.
Oh, my God. Christians are like the actual worst. Anyway, if you guys have anything you'd like to say about this, or, if you want to defend Dave Ramsey and say, hey, I got my whole personal finance sorted out because of that guy, feel free, write into us. podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around, guys. There is definitely more show coming up. Hey, Dan.
Hey.
Sometimes I say things and it turns out that I didn't really mean it, but then it turns out that I really did mean it. And that's what I meant. The first thing I meant, that's what I meant the whole time. Right? Isn't that how it works, Dan?
And sometimes other people say things and I'm positive that they're right, but then they're wrong. And I'm positive that they were wrong. And I never said that they were right. And somebody else said that they were right. And this whole thing is a mess. But Pastor Greg Locke, whom, by the way, I follow on Twitter, and it's delightful all of the time.
Oh, really?
Well, first of all, he's a big Twitter guy, so he's constantly posting, but he's also just a petulant little titty baby the whole time. And he is still insistent that Trump is going to win in the end. So
still,
it's just
January 15th.
Yeah.
He's still convinced.
It's more.
Well, that's faith.
Literally
That's what that is.
Gets more fun by the day.
He's a man of faith, Dan. A deep, abiding faith.
Yeah. But he has started to hedge. He's still holding on to it, but he has started to hedge. And we found some audio that is him hedging on that.
Now what's floating around on the internet is all of these people that, let me use the word loosely, prophesied that Trump was going to remain in the presidency for the remaining 4 years. Now they're all being called false prophets, and so here's what they're doing. Now they're sending out these letters and these statements saying, well, somehow or another, we got it wrong, which, by the way, they're going to feel very, very stupid in a couple of weeks. So let me just say something. If you go back and watch every video from this platform or any video that I've done, even the one from the tree that I shared a couple of months ago or a month and a half ago about the dream, you will notate that I am very careful not to say the word of the Lord told me to tell you that Donald Trump is going to remain the president for the next 4 years. I have said I have good authority. I believe with all of my heart. I am 1,010% confident. But never one time did I say that Donald Trump is going to remain the president because the Lord told me that he was. Now, I may have a strong opinion on that, but I've been careful not to willy-nilly use those phrases because when God tells me something, I want to make sure that God told me that something. Now, that being said, I'm not trying to backpedal because there is one conspiracy theory in the world right now and only one. The real conspiracy theory are the foolish people that think Joe Biden is actually going to be the president of the United States on January the 20th. You have lost your mind if you believe that.
I don't know what he means.
What is he saying?
Oh, good God. I guess it's not prophecy as long as you only make people think it's prophecy, right? Like, I've got it on good authority.
Right.
Well, you're a preacher, for Christ's sake. Whose authority do you think we're thinking of?
What did you want us to believe you were saying?
Because let me tell you, if Donald Trump had been reelected, he would be spouting off about what a fucking awesome prophet he is.
Oh, 100%.
Told him.
You are so right about that. That is exactly the right point. Because he would be, you would not be able to shut him up for 10 years about his prophetic.
About the one time he was right as a prophet.
Oh my God.
Because that's the truth too, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
When have any of these guys ever been right?
Well, it's just psychics, right? It's like you take credit for the hits, you dismiss the misses, you gloss over the misses, so that you put out 30 prophecies, and if 2 of them hit, you're a prophet. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
with an accuracy rate of
right
6%, 7%.
It's amazing, but these prophets all over we've talked about these prophets who were certain, who have prophesied. God told me. We've played their audio. God told me Donald Trump's going to win this election. God told me Donald Trump's going to have 4 more years. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I got news for you, man. No.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Not only is he not going to get these 4 years that you're convinced that he was going to get, and now you might kind of be like, well, he's going to run again, right? He keeps saying he's going to run again, so maybe that one. No, I'm fairly confident that when Mitch McConnell comes around, as he's indicating he will, and votes to convict the man in the impeachment process, that there's going to be enough other Republicans who are just fucking done with it.
Yeah.
Right. And who Mitch McConnell is giving cover to. I'm not 100%.
You're saying you're not prophesying?
I'm not prophesying in any way, shape, or form that Senate will actually convict Donald Trump. But I think there's a chance.
I think it'll happen. I think you're right. I
sincerely hope that it does. And because it would just be it would be a glorious, glorious thing just to have,
because it'll prevent him from running
off of our this weight off of our shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Of him potentially coming back.
Yeah,
and it will totally like cut him off at the knees as far as like his influence in the party, because they'll know that he's irrelevant in a real like as a potential future president. Right?
Here's what I just realized. Maybe they heard true prophetic words from God saying that Trump would get 4 years, and they just didn't realize it meant prison.
If it's only 4 years, Dan, I'm going to be sorely disappointed.
Well, it's 4 years. I don't know. You should go and listen to the most recent opening arguments podcast with our friend Andrew Torres.
Yeah,
because he made a very compelling case that Georgia has got him by the balls with that phone call that he made.
Oh yeah.
So that's 1 to 4 years just for that, and then. Nice. New York will have its way with him. And that's not something that he can pardon his way out of because it's a state crime instead of a federal crime. Right. If he doesn't do the blanket pardon for himself that he fully intends to do, then he's fucked every which way.
Yeah, but I mean, then that'll have to go to the Supreme Court because it's not clear that a president has that authority. It makes no sense for any president to have the authority to future proof themselves against their own wrongdoings. It's just asking for a president to do bad things.
Right.
If he can just then like he or she at the end of their term can just be like, oh, and by the way, all that bullshit, yeah, you can't come after me for it.
Right.
Fuck that. No fucking way. And if that is if that's how it ends up being, we've got some fixing to do.
Yeah.
On that Constitution, because that would be fucked up. If that were allowed.
I think we can all admit that our Constitution has a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't think it'll be done. I don't think it's going to happen, but it needs to.
Yeah.
It's kind of that. It's one of the projects that in our infrastructure that needs to be seen to. We'll see when anybody gets to it. All right. Well, we had some folks write into us, and I wanted to read some of their things. We skipped over this last week. So, sorry, everybody. We definitely won't get to everybody, but thanks to a few people. Anne wrote into us, hi, guys, listening to the Coup Show. And, Frank, I agree with you about social media. I'm afraid the social media problem is bigger than we think, and I'm not sure what can be done about it. On a positive note, your commentary has given me the incentive to once again put the social media away. I've been doom scrolling since Wednesday, and it's time to go do something useful.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I applaud that. Seriously, like if you're on the fence about your social media, or if you felt the impulse to do away with your social media,
or especially if you felt like it's been really like detrimental to you lately,
walk away.
You're not required to do that.
My life, I can only speak about my experience, so much better without social media. So there you go.
I believe that. Mine, I still like it, so I'm still on it. I have no problem.
And that's for you. You can go swim in that toxic cesspool. That's fine.
I've cleaned my end of the pool. As Doug likes to say from the other show, he likes to say there's no peeing section in a public pool. So maybe you can't just clean your.
That's not true at all.
Well, I mean, I think the idea is the whole thing is basically you're either peeing in it or you ain't, and let's face it, they are. Anyway, about last week, also, dear Frank and Dan, good show. I needed that. It's been an awful week, what with the sedition and all. Those of you who don't recall, last week we changed the format of our show a little bit because we were feeling kind of little punch drunk, a little punchy about the whole storming the castle. Lynn goes on, I have been to many huge anti-war protests in Washington, D.C. The police presence has often been just overwhelming. I am shocked at how these thugs got to shit in the Capitol, break things, threaten to take hostages, and were just allowed to wander away.
Yep.
And
it doesn't surprise me, because when you look like the people you're policing.
Oh God! Well, I mean, half of those police probably are sympathetic to it. So
yeah, exactly.
I hope everybody gets fired.
Yeah. Well, no, but there's this thing that you often don't suspect of, people who, again, are basically you see yourself in, right? That they would do any wrong, right?
Yeah. Anyway, yes, Lynn goes on to give examples of protests where, like, for instance, 1,800 people, including 300 plus bicyclists, were arrested in New York City during the Republican National Convention in 2004 and were brutalized. She gives a bunch of other examples. Sorry, Lynn gives a bunch of other examples. I don't know if Lynn is I don't know Lynn's pronouns. Anyway, and now to see these motherfucking traitors with bombs, long guns, and zip ties who were trying to overthrow our government and our votes being coddled by the cops is just disgusting. Thank you so much for talking about it. I really appreciated your show. Thanks, Lynn.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Here's some good news. This is from a few weeks ago. You'll recall a couple weeks ago we had our good friend Teresa English. Our good friend. We met her over the thing. But she's an awesome person. Teresa English, who ran for office as an atheist. Came on the show and talked about her experience. And, that combined with our continued press for people of non-belief to run for office and to engage in the political system on whatever level they can, we've inspired some folks.
Oh, nice.
So, James wrote in to say, Frank and Dan, so glad you're starting to ramp up the political activism on your show. I've never run for office or been paid staff or anything like that. That's not for me. What I have done is volunteer work for the past couple of decades. Knocked on doors, made phone calls, dropped off literature, and even hosted some house parties for candidates. Since I'm a proud Democrat in Arizona, my candidate normally loses, which sucks. But the past 2 cycles, some of them are now winning. Believe me when I say that took a lot of prep work. My advice to people thinking about volunteering on a campaign is do. It's fun most of the time. It's great when you can connect with a person. This past cycle, I helped several people register to vote. I walked a couple of people through the entire process, from how to get a ballot to where to go and where to research the candidates. Helping a first-time voter is simply a great feeling. Get involved on the local level. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the presidential campaign gets a lot of attention. But they have enough volunteers. You don't have to be another one. The place I found that makes a real difference is at the city, county, or state level. Can you name your rep to your state government? Not many people can, which is crazy because they have more influence over your day-to-day life than whoever represents you in Washington, D.C. So I think that's a great point. And great. I love that you're out there volunteering. Everybody should be doing it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Rob,
and that's the thing. And we've heard this from a couple people have pointed this out, that, not everybody can run. And then when we're saying run, we're trying to speak to the people who've had it on their mind.
Yeah.
Right. And so for everybody else, there are other things that you can be doing and that we can be doing. And
right.
So,
and you can find secular candidates to support also.
Absolutely, yeah.
And encourage, if you know somebody who should be running, you can encourage them, like our friend Rob, who wrote into us. Yeah, we don't know Rob. Anyway, Rob says, "Hey Frank and Dan, just wanted to let you know that thanks to you, I've decided to look into running for alderman in Ward 3 in Oak Brook Terrace, Illinois."
That sounds fancy.
Yeah, I know. Alderman.
That's
we
cool.
don't even have those here.
No.
I've never known what that is.
Like
but I
city
assume
council
it's
kind of thing? Maybe?
Something like that. After listening to your guests, I know that my next step seems to be to bone up on the local politics here and expand on my platform, which currently only has one item at the moment. I wanted to thank you for the efforts you folks have put into this, because I absolutely agree with you that we need non-believers to have seats at the table and voices in the conversation.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, Alderman Rob, let us know. I think we have some people who are in the Chicago area to talk to. I don't
that's
know.
True. Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know where Oak Brook Terrace, Illinois is, but but write back to us if you're interested, and we'll try and hook you up with some other people. If you are also, if any of our other listeners are in that area and could give Rob any guidance, let us know. We'll try and hook you guys up.
Or be a future volunteer.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put people together. So so let us know on that. And there you go. Do we have some folks to thank for the week?
Dan, you know that we do.
Woohoo!
We actually we've got a handful to thank. And sorry for putting it off a week.
Yeah.
You know? But we've got 2 weeks worth of thanks to get out. We have a new deacon by the name of Mark.
Praise be.
Welcome and thank you, Mark. We have a new teacher by the name of Paul. Thank you very much.
Amazing.
We have a new priest by the name of Mick.
Oh.
And Dan.
Uh-oh.
We have 2 new prophet, seers, and revelators.
What? I hope they don't have counter prophecies, because I won't know what to do with that.
We have Sabrina.
Amazing.
And Caitlin.
Oh.
So thank you to the both of you.
All of these people have now been have been anointed with the why can't I think of the word? I wanted to say prophecy.
Holy oil?
No, the priesthood. That's
priesthood.
What it is. The holy priesthood. Congratulations. You have magic powers now. You are amazing. And all you had to do was give us money, which is amazing. So thank you guys so
As
much.
any good priestcraft works.
Exactly.
Also, we have someone else to thank, Dan.
Yes,
Our
indeed.
Lord and Savior, Dennis.
Hey, Frank.
Dan.
Listen, the LDS Church, our church, the Mormon Church, not our church anymore, but the church,
Dear God, no. Yeah.
that we were raised in, we didn't choose that. Anyway, they have seen the horrors that have been happening in these United States.
As we all have, yeah.
And also they saw, as we did, I don't know if our listeners know this, but at least one of the guys who stormed the Capitol last week was dressed as a hero from the Book of Mormon, a very adorable, chubby Captain Moroni, who's a different Moroni, by the way, than the one on the top of all of the Mormon temples, but that's a whole different story.
That's important. That is an important
and he was carrying a banner that has a whole history in the Book of Mormon that is a terribly worded, stupid thing. Anyway, the Mormon Church couldn't deny that their people were involved in this shit, and they've been seeing the writing on the wall for this for a minute. So they came out with a very, very gently worded letter, because they can't piss anybody off, or they don't want to piss anybody off, but they did. And they basically, it was just, with great concern, we observe the political and cultural divisions in the United States and around the world. We condemn violence and lawless behavior, including the recent violence in Washington, D.C., and any suggestion of further violence. So they're basically trying to be like, don't, you guys. Which, that's good. They should.
Oh, yeah.
They should not want that.
But it also, it's not a hard position to take.
No. And you'd think it would be obvious, etc. But, so they do this. And of course, It gets posted on the social media. And I have to reiterate this. We've talked about this before. The Mormon church that I grew up in, the Mormon church that I have known for 45 years of my life, has changed. Because 20 years ago, I would not be able to imagine the church itself coming out with a statement and then thousands of members of that church screaming foul, crying bullshit, saying this is not right. But that's what happens now. It's amazing. These Mormons, it gets posted on social media, and they're all just completely calling foul on this thing, saying
they've lost control, Dan.
Yeah, they have.
Salt Lake has lost control of the church.
They have, and look, this is
they
a
need
church.
To come down hard on these people.
This is a church that has never allowed you to question the first presidency. You're not allowed to question the church. But woohoo! They, the far left is questioning the church on gay rights and on feminist issues, and the far right is just. I mean, here's a guy who said, "Wait a minute, is this the same first presidency that congratulated Biden on a stolen election? When people's voices are not heard, their actions are." Amazing.
Wow.
Just so many people entirely up in arms. It is. I mean, and then of course there are the people who are like, "This is a nice message, and I agree," and then other people jumping down their throats about it.
It is remarkable, which is why I mean, I don't know if we're right or wrong about our projection that the LDS Church is going to break in half.
It's breaking. It's stretching.
Because again, we've been out of it for so long, and we haven't been part of that evolution. But from our perspective, you're absolutely right. That like this is how is it not already broken? Right from kind of where I'm sitting,
right?
Where it's like this cannot last. This cannot stand. Like outright, just complete doubting the prophet. Outright calling them out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
literally, the prophet says, "Hey, don't be violent." And then here's another guy saying, "I absolutely concur, but when freedoms and our God-given constitutional rights are hanging by a thread, and our Savior even stated to take up a sword in the name of freedom, I know we all need to be peaceful, but we can only turn the cheek some many times." It does say some many times. That wasn't my bad reading. Wow. It's just like, I agree, but no, is what that one says. We're in an astounding time. This is just, I used to feel like I knew what the world looked like, what this, I'm befuddled because I used to feel like I could predict things pretty well, and I was good at it. I could predict who was going to win an election with pretty decent accuracy. I could predict how different political actors were going to carry themselves or respond to certain things.
Prophet Dan.
I was not a prophet. I was just a good observer. But everything's so wackadoo right now.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going to happen to any of these things. I don't know what the church is going to do. And we were talking earlier, you and I were talking earlier about groups like, the Ammon Bundy crowd that went and hijacked a fucking bird refuge or whatever it was in Oregon, a federal building, and there were no fucking consequences for that whatsoever. Yeah. And then
now they're just like emboldened.
Yeah. These people feel like if we are white and Christian, we get to do whatever we want in the United States of America. how dare anyone ask us about, how dare anyone question any of it?
Yeah.
It's astounding. I just don't know. Yeah.
I know. I'm at a loss for words too, which is why I'm just kind of sitting here, Dan.
Okay, great. We've chosen a topic of conversation about which we have nothing to say because we're both so flabbergasted.
Completely baffled.
We chose this topic because we figured it would take us in an interesting conversational direction, but now people know these are not scripted conversations because we got no script here. There is nowhere to go with this.
Well, that says a lot, though, about these times that we live in, though, right?
My God.
Like I have found myself completely speechless multiple times over the last couple weeks, right? Where it's just like, all right.
Yeah.
Let me go over here and sit in my little corner, and I need my quiet time now because, oh my God. I mean, not to like completely stray, which it feels like we're in the process of. I've been totally fucking on edge.
Yeah.
Like I had this thing go down with my vet the other day for my dog's vet.
Uh-oh.
And I was just like beside myself, right? Like, and then like I had to step back and be like, why am I so upset? Yeah. Why am I so angry? And then I'm like, oh, this has a little bit to do with this situation and a whole lot to do with the stupid world we live in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I'm talking about how I can't predict things anymore. I think when the whole world feels completely unpredictable, it's going to put you on edge.
Yeah.
I do not feel comfortable. I'll tell you what, though. Here's the thing. Every time Joe Biden speaks and sounds like what a president sounds like,
yeah,
I breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
Every time I see an actual plan for COVID vaccination with like a rollout plan and a strategy and like a monetary figure attached to it, I go, oh yeah, grown-ups are taking over. We might be okay.
Yeah.
I think I think maybe after the dust settles next week, we might be able to start actually letting go of some of the terrors, and
I hope so,
and relaxing into it. I can't tell you how much I look forward to our show being about religion again, and not about politics. Like,
and isn't that the place that the LDS Church is trying to get us to?
Yes.
With this statement, Dan, I'm trying to bring it back around.
Get us focused back on how big of idiots you guys are in your own realm, and not about how like you're full of like insurrectionist traitors and people who write things like. I'm gonna give another comment from the comment stream. This is directed at the church.
Oh boy.
Just the church. You. This is from, I'm not going to say who it is. Anyway, you've repealed freedom. Your members that do not wear masks for religious and health reasons are not allowed into many of your sacrament meetings and are not allowed in the temples. You treat them as unchristlike lepers of old. Ye hypocrites.
You've taken away freedom? What did they say?
You've repealed freedom.
You've repealed freedom.
You're talking about a fucking theocracy, an actual one. The church. They don't have freedom.
They've never promised you freedom.
Freedom is not part of the gig.
Yeah.
There are just a series of rules that you have to obey because it's a fucking religion.
That's what you signed up for. Like, that's literally what you signed up for.
Yeah, literally every time there was, twice a year they get up and they say, and by the way, we're the boss and you're not.
Yeah. There's a higher higher authority.
Yeah,
right?
and they ask you to raise your hand to affirm that you agree with that, and you do.
That's amazing.
Fucking idiots.
I'm so tired of people's petty freedoms.
You guys, can I just say, everybody just go to sleep and don't wake up until a week and a half from now. And then we'll all be a little more okay, maybe.
I hope. I sincerely hope. I need that inauguration to happen now.
I know we don't have. I know we have international listeners, but I know that they can't sleep either until we fix our country because America's kind of a big deal. So, sorry everybody, we're working on it. Oh God! If you want to write into us and tell us about how you're feeling, please feel free to do so. podcast@thankgodimatheist.com is the address.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Go like our Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
And join the Members Only Lounge.
Yeah.
And you can do so. It's on Facebook, but go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members only, and it will take you to where you need to be.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to find otherwise. We did that for you guys. And also find us on Twitter. This one's easy, @TGIAtheist.
Yeah, do that. Hey, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their beautiful music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thank you to all of you for tuning in.
Bye-bye.